Hello, boys and girls. Okay, let's see. Is anybody here today? Sammy, Jolie, and David. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Okay, it's time. That's good. All right, so let me see. I want to see how I can get rid of this. Okay, so quick recap. A recap is when we give a quick little explanation about the previous chapters. So Mr. Devon read chapters 6 and 7, and the chapter 6 was called The Race, and it was basically a race between the foxes and the farmers with their machines. And so, yeah, a lot of digging. So the race was that the foxes were in the lead in the race, but they had to be in the lead in order to not get killed. So the foxes were in the lead in the race. The farmers on their machines, their tractors, were chasing them. And the foxes remained in the lead and remained alive through chapter 6. So move on to chapter 7, called We'll Never Let Him Go. And so what the farmers were saying is that we'll never let them get away. We're going to continue this chase, this hunt, until the foxes are dead. They are so determined now. So that was chapter 7. And at the end of chapter 7, it said that Bogus and Bunce and Bean sent messages down to their farms asking for tents, sleeping bags, and supper. So they were ready to be there for a while. Why do the farmers want to kill the foxes? Well, the foxes are annoyingly stealing food in the way of vegetables and chickens. Foxes love to steal and eat chickens. Okay, so chapter 8. The foxes begin to starve. And we talked about starving is when, no, not pizza. Starving is when somebody is very hungry, but it could lead to death. If you starve, you can starve to death. So that evening, 3 tents were put in the crater on the hill. 1 for Bogus, 1 for Bunce, and 1 for Bean. The tents surrounded Mr. Fox's hole, and the 3 farmers sat outside their tents eating their supper. Bogus had 3 boiled chickens smothered in dumplings. Bunce had 6 donuts filled with disgusting goose liver paste. Ugh. And Bean had 2 gallons of cider. So he really wanted to have a lot of drink. All 3 of them kept their guns beside them. Bogus picked up a steaming chicken and held it close to the fox's hole. "Can you smell this, Mr. Fox?" he shouted. "Lovely, tender chicken. Why don't you come up and get it?" The rich scent of chicken wafted down the tunnel to where the foxes were crouching. Wafted. Does anybody know that word, wafted? So that means when a smell is kind of floating or moving towards an area. So the smell of the chicken is going down the tunnel, down the hole. "Oh, Dad," said one of the small foxes, "couldn't we just sneak up and snatch it out of his hand?" "Don't you dare," said Mrs. Fox. "That's just what they want you to do." "But we're so hungry," they cried. "How long will it be till we get something to eat?" Their mother didn't answer them, nor did their father. There was no answer to give. As darkness fell, Bunce and Bean switched on the powerful headlamps of the 2 tractors and shone them onto the hole. "Now," said Bean, "we'll take it in turn to keep watch. 1 watches while 2 sleep, and so on, all through the night." Bogus said, "What if the fox digs a hole right through the hill and comes out on the other side? You didn't think of that one, did you?" "Of course I did," said Bean, pretending he had. "Go on then, tell us the answer," said Bogus. Bean picked something small and black out of his ear and flicked it away. "How many men have you got working on your farm?" he asked. 35, Bogus said. "I've got 36, Bunce said. "And I've got 37, Bean said. "Can anybody tell me what that adds up to?" 35 plus 36 plus 37. I'll give you a moment to see if you can answer that. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. 35 plus 36 plus 37. Can anybody give me an answer for that? Not one of the teachers. Oh, Sayul. Yes, very good. It is 108. 30 plus 30 plus 30 is 90. 5 plus 6 plus 7 is 18. 90 plus 18, of course, is 108. So I've got 37, Bean said. That makes 108 men all together. We must order them to surround the hill. Each man will have a gun and a flashlight. There will be no escape then for Mr. Fox. So the order went down to the farms, and that night 108 men formed a tight ring. Formed a tight ring around the bottom of the hill. They were armed with sticks and guns and hatchets and pistols and all sorts of other terrible weapons. This made it quite impossible for a fox, or indeed for any other animal, to escape from the hill. The next day, the watching and waiting went on. Bogus and Bunce and Bean sat upon small stools, staring at the fox's hole. They didn't talk much. They just sat there with their guns on their laps. Every so often, Mr. Fox would creep a little closer towards the mouth of the tunnel and take a sniff. Then he would creep back again and say, "They're still there." "Are you quite sure?" Mrs. Fox would say. "Positive," said Mr. Fox. "I can smell that man Bean a mile away. He stinks." Chapter 9. Mr. Fox has a plan. I wonder what that plan could be. Mr. Fox is pretty smart. Why don't they just invade the cave? Well, David, that's a good question. If the farmers are actually trying to invade the cave, that's why they were digging with shovels, and that's why they were digging with tractors. They were trying to invade the cave, but the foxes were smart and quickly dug a hole deeper and deeper, and so that's why the farmers could not get them when they were trying to invade the cave. So, Chapter 9, Mr. Fox has a plan. Of course he does. For 3 days and 3 nights, this waiting game went on and on. "How long can a fox go without food or water?" Bogus asked on the 3rd day. "Not much longer," Bean told him. "He'll make a run for it soon. He'll have to." Bean was right. Down in the tunnel, the foxes were slowly but surely starving to death. "If only we could have just a tiny sip of water," said one of the small foxes. "Oh, Dad, can't you do something?" "Couldn't we make a dash for it, Dad? we'd have a little bit of a chance, wouldn't we? No chance at all, snapped Mrs. Fox. I refuse to let you go up there and face those guns. I'd sooner you stay down here and die in peace. Mr. Fox had not spoken for a long time. He had been sitting quiet, still, his eyes closed, not even hearing what the others were saying. Mrs. Fox knew that he was trying desperately to think of a way out. And now, as she looked at him, she saw him stir himself and get slowly to his feet. He looked back at his wife. There was a little spark of excitement dancing in his eyes. What is it, darling? Miss Fox said. I've just got a bit of an idea, Mr. Fox said carefully. What? They cried. Oh, Dad, what is it? Come on, said Mrs. Fox. Tell us quickly. Well, said Mr. Fox. Then he stopped and sighed and sadly shook his head. He sat down again. It's no good, he said. It won't work after all. Why not, Dad? Because it means more digging. And we aren't, any of us, strong enough for that after 3 days and nights without food. Yes, we are, Dad, cried the small foxes, jumping up and running to their father. We can do it. You see if we can't. So can you. Mr. Fox looked at the 4 small foxes, and he smiled. What fine children I have, he thought. They are starving to death, and they haven't had a drink for 3 days, but they still are undefeated. I must not let them down. I suppose we could give it a try, he said. Let's go, Dad. Tell us what you want us to do. Slowly, Mrs. Fox got to her feet. She was suffering more than any of them from the lack of food and water. She was very weak. I am so sorry, she said, but I don't think I am going to be much help. You stay right where you are, my darling, said Mr. Fox. We can handle this by ourselves. That is the end of chapter 9. There will probably be some more digging. Chapter 10 is called Boggis's Chicken House, number 1. I don't know what that means. David wants to drop an atomic bomb. Okay, David, not a good idea. Jeez Louise. If it's an atomic bomb, that is going to be quite big, and that would probably kill the farmers and destroy all their farms as well. It's never just a small area that is destroyed by an atomic bomb. More digging. Yep. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed the reading for today. So Mr. Devin will be back on Monday. You have to wait until Monday for chapter 10, Boggis's Chicken House number 1. Yes, I know. What more of a hint can I give you? Boggis's Chicken House. Obviously, they're going to have a party in the chicken house, and the foxes are going to probably be invited to the party, and they are going to dance all night. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Goodbye.